If you've ever felt like you're doing everything right with your running, you're consistent, you're showing up, you're putting in the work, but something just keeps breaking down, then this is going to hit very close to home. Because after working with over 1,000 female runners over 45, there's one pattern I see again and again. Runners who are committed, disciplined, doing all the right things, and yet they keep getting injured. Not once, not twice, but over and over. And what's frustrating is it never feels like they did anything wrong. It just happens. And that's exactly why it keeps happening, because the thing that's causing it doesn't feel like a massive mistake when you're doing it. So in this video, we're going to unpack what's actually going on underneath that pattern, so you can catch it early and finally stay consistent. Dev's going to dive into where it all starts.
It usually starts in a place that feels very productive. You're training consistently, you're ticking off sessions, you're following a plan, and nothing looks glaringly wrong. But underneath that, there's something quietly building. And most female runners don't notice it until it's too late. Because the real issue isn't one bad session. It's what happens when your body is slowly taking on more than it's actually coping with. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about training load.
And this is where it gets tricky, because if I asked you right now, are you overtraining? Most female runners would immediately say no, because on paper, everything looks fine. But your body doesn't read your plan. It only responds to what it's experiencing.
How do female runners actually start noticing that something's off? They feel a bit more sluggish than usual. Stairs feel harder than they should. Runs that normally feel fine start feeling like effort. And the dangerous part is that most runners explain it away. I'm just tired. I'll loosen up. I just need to push through this one. Those are often the early warning signs that your body is not keeping up with the load you're giving it. And if that keeps building, that's when it turns into soreness. And once you're properly sore, that's no longer just fatigue. That's your body telling you you've already crossed the line.
And this is where most injuries actually begin. Not with a moment, but with a pattern. Because if you keep adding stress without adjusting when your body is struggling, you slowly move from training into overload. And once you're there, it's not a question of if something goes wrong, it's when.
Okay, so now you can start to see the real problem. It's not just what you're doing, it's whether your body is actually coping with it. So now let's go one layer deeper, because even if your running looks fine, there's something else that makes this worse. And most female runners over 45 are missing it.
Strength. And before you switch off at that word, this is not what you think. Because this isn't about gym workouts or lifting heavy weights. It's about something much more fundamental.
It's about whether your body is actually prepared for the load of running. Because every single step, your body is absorbing force, controlling it, and then producing force again. And if the system underneath that, your muscles, your joints, your tendons, isn't strong enough, you don't handle that load efficiently. The important part here is the load doesn't disappear. It just goes somewhere else, usually somewhere that's not ready for it.
That's why this becomes such a big issue over the age of 45, because it's not just about running anymore. It's about how well your body can handle running. So if someone's not doing any strength work, what's actually happening over time?
You start to lose control in small ways. Your stability drops slightly. Your efficiency drops slightly. Each step becomes just a little bit more expensive. And you don't feel it immediately, but over thousands of steps, that adds up. And eventually, something starts taking more load than it should. And that's where injuries begin to build. If you want a really practical place to start, we've put together a free strength plan to help you build that foundation properly. Go and check that out in the link below.
So now you've got two things happening. Load is creeping up, and your ability to handle that load is gradually going down. And that's a really dangerous combination.
Right, so now we've got to talk about the next mistake, because this is where even really motivated runners get caught. And it feels like progress when you're doing it. Doing too much, too soon. And the reason this is so common is because it doesn't feel like a mistake. You feel good, you're motivated, you've got momentum. So you add a little bit more distance, a bit more intensity, maybe a longer run. And none of those things feel like a problem on their own.
The problem is the body doesn't work like that. It works on a very simple cycle. You apply stress, you recover, you adapt. Then you apply slightly more stress. That's how progress happens. But if you skip the recovery or you increase the stress too quickly, the system never fully adapts. It just accumulates fatigue.
And this is where a lot of female runners confuse being able to do something with being ready to adapt to it, because those are not the same thing.
Just because you can run longer or faster doesn't mean your body is ready to handle that consistently. And when that gap opens up, injuries show up. If you're finding this video helpful, make sure you subscribe, because this is exactly where most female runners lose months, sometimes years of progress without even realizing why.
Now, I want to show you the next one, because this is one of the biggest hidden drivers of injury. And it comes from something most runners think is helping them: running too hard, too often.
This usually comes from good intentions. You've got limited time, so you think, I need to make this run count, so you push the pace. You turn easy runs into moderate runs. You stack intensity without realizing it. But here's the problem. When you increase intensity, you increase the stress on the body dramatically, especially in the landing phase of running when your muscles are lengthening under load. That's where they are most vulnerable. And the more often you do that, the more risk you create.
So again, this is not about avoiding hard running. It's about not letting everything become hard. Because when every run sits in that middle or hard zone, your body never fully recovers.
And when recovery drops, everything else starts to unravel. Which brings us to the next piece. And this is the one that most female runners over 45 completely overlook.
Recovery, and more specifically, what you do immediately after your run, because there's a window right after training where your body is primed to recover. And if you miss it, you slow the process down significantly. There are two things you're trying to do here. Replace the fuel you've used in the form of carbohydrates and start repairing the muscle damage from the session with the intake of protein. This happens best in the first 30 to 45 minutes after you finish your run.
And if that doesn't happen, your body stays in that breakdown state longer than it should, which means you start the next session already behind. And when that happens repeatedly, you don't just feel more tired, you increase your injury risk. So if we bring this all together, the thing that gets most female runners over the age of 45 injured is not one big mistake. It's the gap between what you're asking your body to do and what it's actually able to recover from. And that gap builds through small things. Fix those and everything starts to change. But there's still one big piece most female runners get wrong, even when they fix all of this. They still don't know how to structure their week properly. So they end up back in that gray zone of training. So in the next video, we're going to break down exactly how to structure your running week so you stay injury-free and actually keep improving. And that's where this really starts to click.